So today I'm going to try and figure out, there we go. We are going to start our sewing project. Now before you freak out, it's going to be fine. We're going to be fine. In the office, I have a baggie of things for you because you're going to need, this is muslin or some sort of cotton, really thin, lightweight material. I cut these into about 9-inch squares because we're going to be making pillows. But we could just make a sewing project, or we could really have fun with it. And we talked a lot at the beginning of the year about color theory and primary colors, secondary colors, color mixing, those tertiary colors. So we're gonna have some fun with this, and we're gonna do some Sharpie tie-dye with this fabric. So what you're gonna need is, I will put together a kit for you with the fabric and some binder clips or some clothespins in the office. You will need to get some rubbing alcohol. 91% is what we're using in school. You can find these all over the place now at Target. I know last year we couldn't find it. If you don't have rubbing alcohol at home, you probably could use hand sanitizer that has a high alcohol content, because it's the alcohol that makes the Sharpies kind of do their magic. So you need that. You'll need something to probably put the alcohol in, or catch what you pour over it if you're using hand sanitizer. You'll need a Ziploc baggie just to rest your thing on, because we don't want to put your fabric or anything absorbent when it's drying, because it will soak out the color. The plastic will just keep it there and it'll eventually dry. Then you'll need some colorful Sharpies. You know I love a Sharpie. We could do this with Marshall markers, except for it's going to wash out and fade over time because they're water soluble. So if you could use permanent Sharpies, that's absolutely fine. If you don't have access to colored Sharpies, give me 3 of your favorite colors and I can add that to your kit. Because I have Sharpies at school you can use. So you want to use about 2 to 3 colors. I'm making people use at least 2. If you want to use more than 2, that's fine. So we're going to start by folding. This is kind of a Shibori technique. And I say kind of because it's not exactly. Shibori dyeing is where you fold your fabric in really interesting and intricate things, adding rubber bands and different ways to resist the ink, and then you dip it into indigo ink, and it makes all kinds of fun designs. And I'm going to show 5th grade some slides, and I'll attach it to your Google Classroom so you can see. We are doing a take on that, similar-ish. So we're going to do a type of Shibori folding, but we're going to use Sharpies. So I'm going to take 1 square at a time. And the easiest of them to do is to fold your square in half. And the main thing is we want edges to stay raw. So we always want those edges to make lots of folds on the side. And so I'm going to take the open side, I'm going to fold it once again. So I have a lot of edges on this side. I only have 1 over here, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter no matter which way we do it. So we're going to fold it in half. So but do that again. I did that kind of quick. I just took my square and I fold it in half. And then I fold it in half again. I kind of want to line up my edges as best as I can. It does not have to be perfect, and you're going to get little strings, and that's fine. So now we're going to take it and we're going to add a triangle. So fold like it down from the corner. So I'm at the corner and I'm folding it down towards the edge. This side goes on that side, and I'm making that triangle fold. Okay, and that's it. Then I'm going to flip the whole thing over, and I can feel the edge here. I'm going to fold it down so my triangle comes up. So I'm getting more edges. Okay, then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to feel for my edge. I'm going to fold it and line up this edge on this side edge. So I'm going to go from the top, and I can feel my fold here, and fold it to the side. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it. So we're flipping every time because we want to keep that sandwich to the side. This one's easy. You fold straight down, trying to line up your edges as best as possible. Fold it again, flip it again, I mean. So then this is the diagonal line. So I want to fold on that diagonal, lining up my edges as best I can. Now, Mrs. Cole might have cut this fabric weird, and that's okay. So I'm going to flip it over one more time. So I'm not quite even. I can kind of futz that with that a little bit. I'm going to fold it over. Okay. So now I have this extra flap. One more time, and I'm just going to fold this one over There. So I'm done. I have what looks like a stack of triangles. And those edges are what we want because we're going to bleed color into those edges. So with your binder clip or a clothespin, it doesn't matter what side you pick for right now. Just take it, open it, and kind of clip that together so you can hold it in color. Okay? So now pick out your colors. When you're thinking about your colors, you want to make sure they make sense. So I wouldn't put green and orange together because if they bleed together, it's going to get a really yucky brown color. So think about how those colors mix. And if you can't remember, look at your color wheel. These are not near each other. They're not friends. So if you really want to use orange and green, we're making two, right? So you can make one side of your pillow orange and the other side green. So just pick some colors. I'll grab green, yellow, and blue. And I know that's going to work because they're all analogous. Now this is where you can just have fun with it. You're going to start just coloring the edges. And the longer you can sit your Sharpie on those edges, it'll soak it up. So sometimes I just hold my Sharpie there and let the Sharpie kind of bleed into my fabric. The more ink or color you put down, the more that's going to move, okay? So you can color the edges, and you can get in there on the little tiny folds your best. You're trying your best to cover all the edges, all right? You don't really want to color on the inside just yet. So you decide how you want to color these. You have to use at least 2 colors. I might use 3. If you want to color in between, like green in here, that's how you do it. So color all your edges. You might have to move your clip to get to this side. And I'll be back to show you the next step. So color all your edges using at least 2 different colors, nice and rich and thick of pigment. And when you come back, I'll show you the last step. All right? Okay, so I went ahead and colored all my edges. And I really kind of moved around my folds and made sure it's in there. And I'm trying 3 different colors on this one. The ones with the nice clean folded edges are obviously the easiest ones to color, but I kind of even took my Sharpie down so I know I have like a good border. It's really thick. It took me some time. That's why I didn't want you watching it. These little parts where it's little pieces, I can see I missed a couple here. It's hard, but do your best where they're kind of all fold. Get your Sharpie in there and do your best. And once it's done and you're happy with it, clip it. We don't want to color on the inside because we want that Sharpie to bleed down into that fabric and kind of fade it out. So it doesn't really matter where you put your clip. I'm going to kind of put it towards the center. Where it clips, it's going to create a resist. That pressure isn't going to let the ink move in there. So if you want it to be a design, you can. If not, it is what it is. This is what we have to work with. So I actually did 2 because I'm doing different fabrics. And I want you to remember, you want to use analogous colors. And if you can't remember what those are, go to your sketchbook. Colors next door on the color wheel are colors that you can totally use together. I know that blue and yellow make green, so those are going to work together. If I would have put orange here, orange and green are not friends, and orange and blue are not friends. It would make a really gross, muddy color. However, if you are up to experimentation and you don't mind if it turns into like a muddy brown, go for it. You never know. It might actually work out. But I would highly suggest more analogous colors. Keep your colors next to on the color wheel on your thing. But remember, you have to use at least 2 colors. You don't have to use 3. And when you're ready, there's 2 ways you can do this. I took some 91% alcohol. I haven't tried it with lower because this is what I had in the art room, and this is really strong, so I liked it. I bet if you took some hand sanitizer that's mostly alcohol-based, it would probably work too if you don't have rubbing alcohol. But I was at Walmart and Target the other day, and they had tons of rubbing alcohol if you're able to get there. If you can't get any at all, I can also leave you a little cup of, this is 70%. This might work too. Experiment with what you got. But I have this. So you can do this 2 ways. I went ahead and put rubbing alcohol in a container, and I'm going to dip. And you want to have a plastic baggie. And the bag is just, or you can use wax paper or parchment paper. You don't want to put your wet cloth on something absorbent because it's going to pull the color out of the cloth. But the plastic's going to sit there and make that cloth absorb it. That's a good trick. So I'm going to dump on one. So I'm just going to dip it in there and let it sit. I'm going to turn it. Make sure it's really saturated. And then I'm just going to let it drip, and I'm going to put it straight on that plastic. All right, it's really saturated. It's gonna move and groove, and see how it's gonna make puddles? I'm just gonna ignore that, actually, and leave it. It's gonna take about a day or two to dry. So if you do this on Thursday, you might not be able to open it up to take a picture until Saturday. I would just put this somewhere it can be ignored. The reason, if you're doing two, so the dip method that I like if everybody's using warm colors, because you can see the alcohol takes the ink right away. So I wouldn't want to put my cool colors in this. So another tip you could do, and this is how we might do it in class, is we're just going to have an empty container and we're going to pour the rubbing alcohol over the thing. And so it's still getting in there. So I'm just kind of experimenting. So however you want to do it, you can either pour it over a sink or whatever, or you can dump it. So you're going to have some leftover rubbing alcohol pigment. You could use this as paint if you wanted to, or you can just toss it. We're going to toss it in the art room because we don't want to stain things. So that's it. So you just kind of leave them on a piece of plastic. We're just using Ziploc bags with kids' names on it, and just ignore it and let it dry. You don't want to open it before it's dry, but when you get it, I'm going to show you one I did yesterday, and it was pretty dry today. So this is the one I did yesterday. I took the clip off, and when I open it up, you get that really cool faded and different colors. It's not as vibrant on my camera, but isn't that super cool? It's really dark on the edges you colored. The alcohol kind of fades it out, so you have your own fabric. So you just designed your very own fabric. This is kind of a Shibori style, and I love it. It's so cool. Now, if your colors didn't move, you could take a paintbrush and dip it in your rubbing alcohol and kind of cheat it a little bit and kind of make things move more where you want to, but I wouldn't worry about it. I'm sure it looks fine. Like if you didn't like how it was really dark in some areas, you can try to like cheat it a little bit, but I love mine, so I'm gonna leave it. I'm sure yours will look great too. And this is what I want. Oh, see, I touched that wet and got it on my, all right, that's fine. So I touched that wet thing and I got my fabric stained, but that's okay, it'll be fine. So once your fabric's dry, open it up, take a nice picture for me of both pieces. Remember, we're doing two, and they can be the same colors or different color combinations. Just remember, you're sewing these two pieces together. So one side would be one color on your pillow, and the other side would be like a different color. Up to you. Each fabric needs to have at least two colors, and take your pictures of your fabric, and I can't wait to see what you do. Good luck on your Sharpie Shibori tie-dyeing. Have a good one.